These are 17 Spanish words I learned living in Mexico that they will never teach you in school, starting with la palabra escuincle. Now, when I first came to Mexico and heard the word escuincle, I thought they were talking about the dog, xoloscuincle. But in Mexico, escuincle actually means kid. So for example, ¿todo bien, escuincle? Sí, señor, todo bien. Now, according to my research, the word escuincle, now meaning kid in Mexico, comes from the Nahuatl word iscuincle, which meant dog, or xoloscuincle, which meant dog, the very famous hairless dog of Mexico. So supposedly, over time, the word iscuincle, or xoloscuincle, became escuincle for kids because they are known to be crazy and hairless. La próxima palabra es enfrijolada. Now, I have no idea why I didn't know about this word before coming to Mexico, especially because I'm from Southern California, but an enfrijolada is essentially una enchilada, but instead of a chile sauce, it's a salsa de frijol, a bean sauce. Literally, en frijol. In bean. And the craziest thing about this is that not only do we have enchiladas and enfrijoladas, but we also have enmoladas, which would be in mole. Now, the funny thing is that in certain parts of Mexico, they actually call enmoladas enchiladas de mole. What do you think would be the right way to say that? If you want to learn real Spanish faster and have a 10-minute conversation in Spanish in 90 days, then check out the Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy. We have more than 711 students getting results in the real world. You can join today by clicking the link in the video description or by going to SpanishWithNate.com. Ahora tenemos la palabra apapachar, which would mean to hug with the soul. You could also think of this as to cuddle. Now, this is one of those beautiful Mexican words that you just cannot translate perfectly into English. The idea here is that you're showing someone affection. You are hugging them, giving not just a regular abrazo, you're really hugging them with the soul. Now, we have the verb apapachar, which would mean to hug with the soul, but we also can use the noun apapacho. So, for example, dame un apapacho. Give me a hug, but a really good hug, a hug from the soul. Or you could use it as a command. So, for example, apapachame. Next, we have the word tepache, which is a fermented pineapple drink in Mexico that is absolutely delicious. It's extremely refreshing, and many times you'll see people in Mexico selling it on the street with a sign that says tepache, and it's in kind of those big Gatorade jugs, those big orange jugs that you'll see. You can kind of think of it like a light kombucha, it's not too strong, with a nice pineapple flavor. And as you might know, Mexico has many interesting drinks, not just tepache, but something like pozol, for example, not to be confused with pozole, but pozol is kind of like a chocolate drink coming from the south of Mexico, often found in Chiapas, and we also have the very famous Mexican drink known as la bebida de los dioses, the drink of the gods, pulque, which is coming from the agave plant. Ahora tenemos la frase estar en la lela. When I first learned this phrase, I absolutely loved it. When you are en la lela, you are zoned out. You're daydreaming. You're on another planet. You're not here. You're checked out. So let's say, for example, you're speaking to someone and they say, hey, ¿me estás escuchando? You could say, ay, perdón, estaba en la lela. Sorry, I was totally zoned out. I was en la lela. Next, we have the word latoso or latosa, which would mean annoying or bothersome. I remember that I met a guy in Mexico who lived near me and he would sell things on the corner and he would talk about his new baby daughter and he would say, ay, es una lata, es una lata. Literally, she is a can, but it just meant she's a lot or she's a bother. So for example, oye, deja de ser tan latoso. Hey, stop being so annoying. La próxima palabra es tianguis. Now, a tianguis is an outdoor market, many times more informal. You can think of it like a flea market. And you can get anything and everything at el tianguis. You can get clothes, you can get food, you can get anything. And it's very common that you will regatear, which is to bargain. You're saying, hey, How about this price? No, okay, how about that price? It's very common in el tianguis. Next, we have the word raspado, which would be shaved ice. Now, raspar in Spanish could be to scratch or to scrape, but in Mexico, un raspado would be a shaved ice. The first time I ever learned about raspados was in a very tiny pueblo in the state of Jalisco, Mexico, and I had a raspado de coco, which was absolutely delicious. Now, unfortunately, I found that in Mexico City or in Oaxaca, it's very uncommon to see raspados de coco, so a coconut flavored shaved ice. However, it is very common to get fruit flavors, so it can be anything. It could be de mamey, tamarindo, mango, many different flavors of raspados. And in Mexico, it's very fun to watch someone making a raspado. Next, we have the word sangrón, which means stuck up or an unpleasant person. So let's say, for example, you go on vacation with a big group of people, everyone wants to go to this one museum, but there's that one person who's like, I don't want to go to that museum. That person, you could argue, is being sangrón. Oye, deja de ser sangrón. Think about the rest of us in the group. Now, it's not the nicest word, but it is good to know. And hopefully, no one will ever call you sangrón. Ahora tenemos la frase ni modo. Ni modo means oh well, or bummer, or too bad. Ni modo. So for example, let's say you're going on a flight, but they make you pay for your bag. You weren't expecting it, and you just say, ni modo. Oh well. It is what it is. Can't really do anything about it. Ni modo. And if you want to be cute, some people will say ni modos. Next, we have the word chafa, which would mean cheap or low quality. And I'll be honest with you, en el tianguis, it's normal to find things that are chafa. So let's say you buy a botella at the tianguis. You could say, ay, no sé, esta botella es chafa. This bottle is bad quality. And you can also use the word chafa when you're bummed out about something that someone did. So, for example, let's say you were going to go to a party with your friend, but they canceled on you last minute. You could just say, que chafa. Like, man, are you serious? That sucks. Que chafa. Now, this next word is very important to know in Mexico, and that is the word tope. A tope is a speed bump in Mexico, and they can be extreme here. But arguably worse than topes are baches, which unfortunately are also very common in Mexico. A bache would be a pothole. So let's say you're driving around, your friend could say, oye, cuidado con los topes y los baches en esta calle. Ahora tenemos la palabra feria. Now, normally feria would just mean fair, but in Mexico, feria can also be slang for money. And we have different ways that we can say money in Mexico. We can say dinero, we could say lana, which literally translates to wool, or we could say something like plata, which literally translates to silver. All of these can be used to talk about money. So, feria is also money. Next, we have the word codo, which literally means elbow. But if someone calls you codo, it means they're saying you are cheap or stingy. Another word for codo could be tacaño, which just means cheap. And Mexicans love to communicate using hand gestures. So if you ever see someone doing this, it means they're saying that someone is cheap. Oye amigo, no seas codo. Hey friend, don't be cheap. Next, we have one of the most famous Mexican words, ahorita. Now, before coming to Mexico, I thought that ahorita meant right now. See, ahorita, let's do it right now. And very rarely that can be the case, but almost always ahorita means in a little bit, or in a while, or later. And sometimes, I'll be honest, ahorita can mean never. It is never going to happen. For example, vamos a lavar la ropa. Sí, ahorita. That means you're probably not going to be washing the clothes for a while. If you wanted to say right now, you could use the phrase de una vez, just meaning let's do it de una vez, right now. Or you could say something like ahora mismo, right now. Next, we have a funny phrase, which would be echar un taco de ojo. Literally, throw an eye taco, but it just means to check someone out. So, for example, let's say you're walking down the street, and then your girlfriend says to you, oye, yo te vi echando un taco de ojo. I saw you checking that girl out. Cuidado, aguas. And a final fun bonus word for you is the word chilango, which would be someone from Mexico City. Now, people will say different things about this. Someone who is born and raised in Mexico City could be called un defeño, I believe also capitalino, but chilango is commonly known to be used for someone that is from Mexico City or someone that has come from a different state, somewhere like Oaxaca or Puebla, and come to live in Mexico City. If you want to learn more Spanish with me, click the link in the video description or go to SpanishWithNate.com. I think you'll like this video. Click here to watch it now.